Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lee Primo of Eat.Health Lee, and I'm here to talk to you about week 23 of the one-year meal placement experiment. So as you guys may remember, last week I made a request for anyone to ask a question related to Joylent or nutrition. And Marc Sader actually had a pretty good and interesting question, and it was how I felt about long-term use of artificial sweeteners. So I just did a bit of research into the topic. And my personal opinion is long-term use of artificial sweeteners is not something I think anyone should be concerned about. And what I did was I took a look at a study of saccharin. So saccharin was something that was a big issue around August 1978. They had a study published in Environmental Health Perspectives by Dr. Reuber. It was called the Carcinogenicity of Sacran. And what that entailed was Dr. Reuben fed male rats saccharin, and the male rats developed bladder cancer. Now, it is important to note that saccharin was also fed along with cyclamate. And the rats did indeed develop bladder cancer, the male rats. Now, why this isn't an issue for humans is a couple reasons. Later on, they found that the male rat's determination didn't translate into human metabolic process. So our human bodies were not the same along with that. In addition to, typically when they feed these animals certain things, it's usually a very high amount that they feed them before they start to notice an effect. So when they look into a study, and hypothetically if they were to go into human trials, they would then figure out a human equivalent dose of what they fed the animal. So below I have an article about that. You can see where it talks about how this process is figured out through how to figure out essentially the human equivalent dose. And a lot of the times these studies, they are fed in proportion to humans a very high amount. So the average human wouldn't consume that much saccharin compared to the animal. So that's also something to consider. So I guess the biggest question would be into limiting the amount of this product. A good example is water. You can have water toxicity. If you drink enough water, water could be hazardous to your health. I think it's the same to do with these artificial sweeteners. There's something called the acceptable daily intake. So scientists got around and they talked science and they said, okay, what is the acceptable daily intake for all these different ingredients? They established a set amount. Also, of course, below I include that with the acceptable daily intake so you can see and do the math. For example, aspartame is 3,450 milligrams for me. I weigh 69 kilos. And that is 5 milligrams a kilogram is what they recommend for an acceptable daily intake. So if you take a look at like a diet soda, it has far, far less aspartame in it. So they come up with these numbers in a very responsible manner. And as long as you stay within these limits, I don't think you would ever have any issues consuming them. And there's a certain lot of misconception, I think, with sweeteners. Ever since they had that study with saccharin, a lot of people fear cancer from saccharin. I'd like to pull this in the same effect as the vaccine and autism type of mindset, where Dr. Andrew Jeremy Wakefield in 1998 published an article in the Lancet, a medical journal, and at the time he linked vaccines to autism, but that in turn was based on fraudulent evidence. So Dr. Wakefield medical license was suspended, and that was proven to be untrue. Now, I still see people to this day. I was at a health clinic, and the mother would refuse to give a child vaccine because she did believe that the vaccines cause autism. So even though this was debunked and proven to be not true, people still have that fear, and it's real to them. So I would advise don't let that carry into artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are a good choice if you want to have your food to be sweet, enhance flavor, but you don't want the extra calories. So in a nutshell, I would say yes, consume artificial sweeteners long term, but keep it within reasonable limits. And those are specified in the acceptable daily intake. I hope you enjoyed this video for this week. Of course, I'll see you guys next week, and take care. Bye.